Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're exploring something a bit different. We've got these excerpts from Dan's halldaze.pdf. It's a fictional piece, but wow, does it paint a picture of a community facing some really big issues. Our mission, essentially, is to unpack this narrative. We want to pull up the key insights, especially around how things like risk aversion and community well-being affect young people. It's quite a complex interplay. Kicks off vividly, doesn't it? You can almost hear it Friday night. This old parish hall, bass pumping, lights, kids queuing up, all excited, parents waiting outside. It felt, as the source says, raw and imperfect, but real. Real connection happening. But then, bam, the contrast. That same building now, silent. Dark windows, plaster flaking off, and this laminated sign flapping about. Event canceled due to insurance constraints. No further bookings. That's where it really grabs you, I think.
Absolutely. And that sign, that silence, it's not just about one canceled disco, is it? The source uses it as a symbol for something. Well, something much bigger. A societal trend, really. It makes you question the hidden costs of being so careful about risk and, what happens to the spaces young people need.
Okay, let's dig into that. The source introduces a few key people who, maybe unintentionally, contribute to this. Not villains exactly, but their actions add up. First up, Brendan Quigley. He's the chair of the local planning authority. Described as very risk-averse.
Always talking standards.
Exactly. Fire exits, crowd control, acoustics, soundproofing, all that stuff. And the big one, fear of litigation.
Yeah, his line is something like, better to avoid litigation than fund recovery. That says a lot.
It really does. Then you have Ethne Hall from the insurance company, Real Mutual.
Ah, yes, the pragmatist.
Right, she's very direct, just states, youth events are a liability sinkhole.
Oof, sinkhole.
Yeah. She cites claims for everything sprains, drunken injuries, even psychological trauma. And the number she gives, it's shocking. Our risk profile doesn't support cover under €38,000 per annum.
Per annum. And that's just for limited access. It basically makes it impossible for many community groups.
Completely impossible. And then there's Sergeant Neil Doran from the Gardaí, the Irish police.
Okay. The law enforcement perspective.
Yeah, and his perspective is, well, he admits they rarely patrolled at night anymore.
Why is that?
Lack of staff, he says. Too
No.
much desk work, GARDA vetting paperwork, motoring offenses taking up time.
Resource constraints. A familiar story, unfortunately.
And his attitude, kind of. Anyway, let them stay home. Less trouble that way.
Wow. That's quite a viewpoint for community policing.
He even mentions disliking confrontation, sighing about prosecuting a kid for vandalism because the mother would raise hell.
So if you put all those pieces together, the planner focused on standards and liability, the insurer seeing only risk and cost, the police force stretched thin and perhaps preferring quiet streets over engagement.
Exactly. What you get is this convergence, right? Multiple people making what seem like logical decisions from their specific viewpoint.
But the cumulative effect is huge, a massive social impact. It really begs the question, what happens when individual rationality, aimed at minimizing specific risks, ends up creating a bigger unintended social problem? It's like a system failure almost, born from seemingly sensible parts. It's less about finding blame and more about understanding how these modern pressures, especially around risk, shape our communities.
So the impact on the kids. Where does the story take us next?
It gives voice to them and to those who remember what was lost. We hear from Mary Hanlon. She used to DJ those nights. Now she's in her 40s.
Someone with perspective on the before.
Definitely. And she makes a great point. Sport isn't for everyone. The disco, she says, it teaches you how to flirt or be awkward or navigate chaos. Real social learning, basically. The messy stuff.
Yes. She talks about meeting her first boyfriend there, the magic and that sweaty chaos. Now,
Yeah.
she volunteers at this quiet, EU-funded youth center.
What's that like?
Sounds a bit sterile. Little to do, beyond ping pong, be a film night, some poetry. Not exactly the same vibe. Then there's a teenager, John Doe.
16.
Okay, the current generation.
Yeah. And his story is quite stark. He admits setting fire to a bin, why, just felt mad, we were bored.
Boredom and frustration. A potent mix.
He says he and his friends just wander the car parks in the evenings. They vape, film make-believe fights for TikTok.
So, unstructured time, but maybe not in a positive way.
Seems like it. He does play GAA, that's the big Irish sport, Gaelic games. He used to sneak into pubs or clubs for over 18s, but they've either stopped or upped the age to 21.
So fewer options even for slightly older teens.
Right. His summary is just bleak. We've nowhere now. No crack. Just the phone. And crack, for anyone listening who doesn't know, that's Irish for fun, atmosphere, good times. No crack, just the phone. That's, yeah. That says a lot about the shift. And connecting that back to the source's bigger point, the town becomes quiet, but not peaceful.
Exactly. That's a key line.
Fewer Garda call-outs for rowdiness, maybe, but underneath, more quiet addictions, more late-night mental health crises, more isolation, a deep cultural flattening, it calls it.
Wow. Cultural flattening.
Yeah. Kids growing up in digital silence, policies killing off spontaneity, and teens finding their freedom not on a dance floor, but in fake personas, online cliques, and anonymous cruelty.
So the lack of physical space pushes them online into potentially worse environments.
That's precisely the argument the source makes. It highlights why those real-world, slightly chaotic, supervised, but not stifled spaces are actually vital. They're crucibles for social development.
Okay, but it's not all doom and gloom. The story introduces someone who tries to fight back, right? Patrick. Patch Cullen.
Ah, Patch. The local shopkeeper, former counselor, he's had enough.
Yeah. He saved up, converted a shed next to his shop, put in toilets, LEDs, fire exits, did it all himself. Called it the hangar.
A real grassroots effort. So, did it open?
Well, that's the thing. He couldn't open it. Why? Red tape?
Of course.
He literally holds up this folder, overflowing. Insurance quotes, planning refusals, more fire cert demands, public indemnity issues. Just hurdle after hurdle.
The system strikes back.
Pretty much. His lament is quite poignant. They're afraid of joy, afraid someone might fall over, sue, and dance while doing it.
That really captures the absurdity, doesn't it? And his quote from the town hall meeting.
Oh, yeah, that's a powerful one. We've created a town where it's easier to insure a cemetery than a dance floor.
Boom!
That's not town name. That's cowardice disguised as order.
Cowardice disguised as order. That perfectly nails this dynamic, this overcorrection, where minimizing all risk, even the risk inherent in living and interacting, becomes the ultimate goal, overriding community vitality.
And Patch, he doesn't just complain, he actually has a plan. The source details it.
Okay, what does he propose?
He suggests things like private venues operating under capped indemnity policies, an insurance co-op model maybe, to share the load for community events.
Interesting. Spreading the risk.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
temporary low-barrier event licenses for youth-run nights, but with adult supervision.
So empowering the youth, but with safeguards.
Exactly. And importantly, a Garda liaison for each event. But their role, not to prosecute, but to attend and integrate. Be part of it, not just policing it from outside.
That's a significant shift in mindset. Presence, not just enforcement.
His final line is quiet, but it lands hard. Let kids be kids before all they know is screens and supervision.
A plea for balance. So how does it turn out for Patch in the hangar? The source gives options, right?
It does, and this is where it gets really thought-provoking. It presents two distinct outcomes, two possibilities.
Okay, scenario one.
Scenario one, despite resistance from the usual suspects, Quigley, Hall, Doran Patch finds allies. Mary Hanlon, the former DJ, some parents, even 3 new, younger Garda recruits get on board.
Ah, a coalition for change.
Exactly. The hangar opens under a pilot scheme. And, the description, for the first time in years, the town breathed. It suggests change is possible, with collaboration, with fresh perspectives.
So a hopeful path. But there's another version.
Yes, a stark warning labeled Dream On.
Oh, dear.
In this version, the hangar never actually opened. The hurdles were just too high.
And the consequences?
Bleak. Most of the young people moved away. Many died or developed issues. It paints a picture of real social decay if these initiatives fail, if that quiet but not peaceful reality just deepens. So we've walked through this fictional town, heard the different voices, seen the challenges, Patch's plan, and these two potential futures. A lot to think about. What's the main takeaway for you, looking at dancehaldaze.pdf as a whole?
For me, it forces us to confront a really uncomfortable question. What are the hidden costs when we become completely averse to risk, especially when it comes to young people's need to socialize, explore, and, well, make mistakes in relatively safe environments? The source uses the hangar never actually opened as this potential future. What does society look like if that becomes the norm everywhere? What vital spark are we extinguishing when we prioritize bureaucratic order and a perception of absolute safety over spaces for spontaneity, for connection, for the messy, essential business of growing up? That's the question it leaves me with.